What's up, guys? We're back with the best or most memorable Goosebumps episodes, part two. Hope you enjoyed the last episode. It was a lot of fun to make, and can't wait to just give as many spooky slash paranormal types of content out for this coming season. So let's get right into it. We're gonna start with Say Cheese and Die Again. We did Say Cheese and Die in the last episode. If you missed that, go and check that out. This episode starts off with our main character, Greg, having nightmares about the camera still. If you don't know what the camera is, you'll find out very soon. Greg's being tormented by this demonic, pretty creepy looking thing. We flash forward to Greg in his class having a presentation for a report, and he's talking about the adventures of this camera that can predict only bad futures with its pictures. And of course, the teacher doesn't believe Greg, but he goes as far as ridiculing him and just putting him down for his story, which is pretty wild. I can definitely relate. I've had some horrible teachers, for sure. Even one threw my homework in the trash can. I swear to God. So anyway, Greg's like, "You don't believe me? I'm going to go back to this place that I almost died at, get this camera, and bring you solid evidence." So Greg goes back and realizes that the building is completely gone, but manages to stumble upon the covered door of the basement area where the camera was first introduced to us. So this little dude is brave as brave gets, and he sure as shit goes in there and gets the camera. He comes back with the camera and runs into his one friend, and his friend wants the camera because everybody wants to grab the camera when they see this evil camera for whatever reason it is. I mean, this camera's caused more fights than the Maury show. So they're playing tug of war with it, and Greg accidentally takes a picture of his friend, the same friend from the first episode of Say Cheese and Die, that disappeared after one picture. The picture comes out a negative. Don't quote me on this, but I think a negative is a picture with its colors inverted. That I know it needs to be developed to get the full picture and full colors of what the picture entails. So Greg just kind of chalks it up and is like, "Hey, maybe the camera's just broken because it didn't look insanely altered like the other pictures previous." But she wasn't really having that because she took the camera and took a picture of Greg real quick, and Greg looked fat. So his head starts scrambling, and he's trying to figure out any way that he could fix these issues. And he meets up with his friend again, and it turns out that she keeps on getting skinnier and skinnier, and he keeps on getting fatter and fatter. So eventually both of them will die if this path continues. Greg gets the idea to take these photos to somebody he knows that works at a photo development place. And he asks if he could turn the positive photo into a negative and a negative photo into a positive to reverse the effects. I mean, it sounds pretty logical. And at the buzzer, Seth gets the pictures, gets them both right, and saves them because they were sure as hell about to die. And now Greg has all the proof he needs. He's got the camera. He's ready to go back to school and show his teacher, because his teacher, I'm sorry I didn't mention this, but his teacher sees Greg and just chalks off his weight gain as a fat suit. And he's like, "Take that costume off." So Greg comes back to class with the camera. He's determined to get an A, and this teacher is like, "Nobody's ever gotten an A in my class. F's for everybody." He gets real cocky about this camera not being real, and eventually starts to fight over the camera with poor Greg. And another victim from the result of tug of war over this damn camera happens, and the teacher takes a picture of himself and immediately regrets it. The teacher starts going bald, and sure enough, the photo revealed that he was bald in the picture. And that ends Say Cheese and Die Again. Definitely a classic episode with a resolving ending, which not a lot of Goosebumps episodes are like that. Some of them are just like, either you're gone, you're done for, or you're left in mystery. The next episode I'm going to be talking about is very special to me because I actually had a DVD set of Goosebumps that I watched a lot whenever we were moving place to place when my family was suffering from Hurricane Katrina, and it was just a really awesome comfort show. And I remember one episode in particular on this DVD that always left its mark on me. This episode is called Click, and yes, just like the movie Click with Adam Sandler in it, that came out almost a decade after this movie. I don't know if this movie inspired, I mean, I don't know if this episode inspired the movie, but I mean, it had to have. We start off with this young kid named Seth reading the back of a magazine looking for things he can order, some cool stuff like x-ray specs or whatever, and he gets this universal remote control with the power to control everything. You see where I'm going with this, right? So Seth gets the remote and just starts messing around with it. He's using it on his TV and his radio, and he's like, oh man, this thing is incredible. And he's watching TV. All of a sudden his little sister comes in and she's practicing tap dancing of all things. And I don't blame Seth on this first use of the remote. So he starts turning up the volume on the TV, trying to drown her out, but it just won't happen. And as a joke, he picks up the remote and he pauses her. And sure enough, she's paused. And of course, like most of us, Seth just doesn't believe it. He goes up to her and just is in awe. He's like, what in the world is this thing? I'm a god now. So he takes it to school and goes right up to the school bully who's bullied him most of his life. And of course the bully is bullying somebody right now. He's like, you know what, I'm going to use this thing for good. So he goes up to the bully and he's like, hey, you got a problem, man? You got a problem? So the bully, of course, is like, what's wrong with you? You want to be next? And Seth uses the change channel button for the first time. And I got to say, it's pretty awesome. Like, he starts turning into all these different, like, show hosts and characters from shows. And then he goes back to normal, and you could see he's, like, visibly in pain and just completely confused and just stutters away. We don't ever know if he's all right after that or if he gets a clear memory ever again. We get no closure on that. So his friends are like, yeah, Seth, you ruled. Like, that's awesome, blah, 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 blah. So time goes on, and Seth goes to pause his sister again. But this time it's his sister, his mom, his dad, maybe even the dog. And he actually drops the remote, breaks it, and does not know what to do. So he goes and gets his one friend that knows about his powerful remote, brings him over and is like, hey man, like, I need help, what do you think I should do? And he realizes the severity of the situation, and he's like, Seth, you really need to stop what you're doing right now. And he's like, yeah man, as soon as I fix it, I'll never do it again, I promise. So they go and actually take the remote apart, wound up fixing it miraculously, and all is right. He unpauses his family. His dad notices that hours have gone by, doesn't really bat an eye after that, and just moseys on away. Seth and his friend come to an agreement that Seth is going to throw away the remote and they're going to put it behind them, never to be seen again. But oh no, Seth has a thirst for power now after he got a mere taste of being a god. So he sneaks back out a couple minutes later and of course grabs the remote, and it's on now. Seth goes to school and pulls out the remote and pauses the entire class when he's in class, takes the answers. He's doing whatever he wants at this point. His friend is really trying to speak some reason into him, and Seth's just not having it. I'll give this to him. His friend is annoyingly the good guy. Like, he's a whiner, man. He's the biggest whiner I've ever heard in my life. And honestly, Seth may have become evil just in spite of hearing his friend's voice.
Seth.
No, but honestly, Seth is totally off the rails at this point, and it's a ticking time bomb. So he winds up getting into a fight with his friend because his friend just doesn't want to see Seth totally fade away from this power. And Seth turns on his friend. He does the unthinkable and goes to press the power button off on his friend, killing him or sending him to a whole nother dimension. But after repeated ominous crazy ass warnings from this company that pop up literally in every source of technology that he has, from alarm clocks to emails to radio, you name it, the TV. So Seth turns on his friend and clicks the power button, but instead of sending his friend away, he sends himself away to a black pit with nobody around, visualizing how he was inside after pushing everybody away when getting that type of power. And that's really, really dope how they did this. It's just like an awesome portrayal of what power or fame or money can do. So that ends this episode of the best slash most memorable episodes of Goosebumps. And I hope you guys enjoyed. Obviously, Click wasn't too bad if it made a multi-million-dollar movie. I don't know which one came first, but definitely a weird coincidence if they didn't have anything to do with each other. Look for the hidden mystery in this video to be pinned in the comment section. Also, like and subscribe. Catch the next video. Hope you guys have an awesome night. Stay spooky.